Hey everybody, what's up? This is Badfish and welcome to Gone Gaming, and of course welcome back to the beautiful city of San Pedro. And if this is your first time at my channel, welcome to the city of San Pedro. It's my current ongoing realistic Cities Skylines series based off the American West Coast. So if you like what you see in this video, definitely remember to leave a thumbs up, and if you want to see some more City Skylines, more detailed builds and things like that, definitely check out my channel. But today, what we're going to be doing is we are actually going to be making ourselves the start of a little harbor seaside town. So this was actually my first request from a viewer. So shout out to Jack from my last episode. He asked if I could make a seaside town. I've actually been planning on doing that and wanted to just get it started since that was my first request. So let's do it. So as you can see on screen right now, all I'm really doing is going and just putting in some different roads, just trying to plan out where like the suburbs and the main roads of this little place are going to be. Obviously, these are all subject to change once I actually put in landmarks and different things like that. But for now, just trying to make something a little bit interesting before I start down on the actual harbor itself. So that's what we're going to be starting out with, is a little dockyard, a little bit of a boat like launch slash storage. So in the winter when it gets colder or something, you know, people take their boats out of the water and want them stored for the off season. So that's kind of what we're going for here today. It's just a little something like that. So my plan for this whole community though, I think it is going to be a little more affluent. So we're gonna have some like really nice houses on the water and things like that, and like a really nice little downtown shopping area. So for the docks, I grabbed this cool little modular pack off the workshop. I could probably figure out how to do like network snapping or something like that to make it a little easier on myself. I should do that soon. But today I just put them down and went ahead and, you know, used Move It to make them kind of flesh to the actual dock platforms and things like that. And I wanted to make it a little bit bigger, so I add a couple little jut outs so we can have some areas for boats to park and things like that. But I think this was like, it's better than, you know, just like a little wooden pier. I didn't want to just do only wooden piers and stuff like that, which is kind of typical for what I do with City Skylines. So I liked having this kind of big concrete slab, you know, and that way it can look a little bit more like a commercial dock than, you know, a public, you know, boat launch kind of deal. And I wanted to just have it be a little bit bigger and a little bit nicer, and we're gonna add a couple different like boat cranes and things like that. So I didn't want to have those just sitting on a wooden dock, because I feel like if you try to pick up a, you know, couple ton boat with a crane on a wooden dock, you're just gonna rip the dock in half. It's not gonna pick up the boat. So I thought a concrete platform might make a little more sense. And like my idea too, like I said, it's a you know, boat launch slash boat storage, but also maybe like a refueling place. I know, like at least on a lot of the lakes that I've gone to, they'll have like little refueling stations and docks kind of scattered throughout the lake. So I thought, you know, why not on, you know, the San Pedro ocean line have that as well. So maybe ships just come in here and refuel. And I am going to add, you know, some ships kind of around the dock itself and make a little like marina bay in this little inlet. But I definitely need to get some more boats, because a couple of the ones that I used for some reason needed road connections, which doesn't really make sense since it's, you know, in the middle of the water. So I'm going to have to find some different props to work for that. So now what we're going to start doing is putting a little bit of extra detail onto the dock itself. So we're using these little bumpers, which are essentially just car tires on chains, but they're bumpers. So that way when a boat comes and parks at this dock, let's say they get hit by a wave or a wake from one of the bigger boats, they're not just going to, you know, smash into concrete and ruin, you know, that guy's summer. They're going to just hit these little plastic bumpers and be all right. And then we're going to go ahead and add some of these different little bollard ties so they actually have a place to tie up the boats when they park. I'm using these really like rusted out ones, which might kind of stick out like a sore thumb now. But later on, what I'm going to do is go through and put decals down on the actual dock space itself. And I think once I do that, they fit in and tie in much better. And, you know, obviously the dock, I think, looks a lot more weathered, and where it's on the ocean and it's on, you know, salt water, I wanted it to look weathered, especially in the metal parts. And now we're gonna go through and start the actual like boat storage. So I got these cool little storage things off the workshop, and like I said, I'm gonna put some boats just kind of around the different sides of the space and the different sides of the dock itself, and a couple of these different boat cranes to lift them out and put them into the storage area, like I said. So some of the boats are bigger. I wanted to have, like I said, this be a very affluent community, so I did use some of those yachts to like hang out in the middle of the marina. I thought they looked pretty cool, and then those really big sailboats too. But then, you know, just having some of the normal like fishing trawlers and just small motorboats and stuff like that, because I didn't want it to all just be ridiculously large yachts, because this is not big enough to be a yacht storage yard, that's for sure. Those are gonna have to stay in the water. And you know, just adding some forklifts and things like that. And then I did want it to just have a little bit more to the pier itself than just that dock, so I just added from the Sunset Harbor DLC one of those little I think it's just the regular fishing pier or whatever. It's not one of the specialized ones, so it's just a regular one. But I like that because, again, having something that actually works within the confines of the game during the simulation kind of brings the space to be alive a little bit more. And it also you know, it's nice to have at least something making money in this city, because we are hurting for cash. I did make it a little bit better off camera at the end of this episode. I think right now during this episode, I can't tell on my playback when I'm recording, but I think it's like 90 grand we're losing or something like that. So should probably fix that up, even though it has no actual in-game effect for me right now. I still like it when they make money. And I decided not to have these two areas connect as far as the dock to the pier of the fishing complex. I wanted to have another little boat launch, so in my eyes, maybe this is more of like a public boat launch that people can just go and utilize whenever. Obviously, it's still in kind of like the middle of this boat parking, but you know, it's just a little public boat launch, so when people want to go out on the water, they can. And you know, also makes it easier for people with smaller vessels to take them out of the water. And then we just did a little skip there because I didn't want to make you guys watch me build out for the billionth time parking lots, so I'm just finishing them up here. So we just had a nice little area for parking right outside of the piers, and adding in some different lighting and things like that, just because I didn't want it to be dark. And I actually, at the cinematics at the end, I kind of show that off. I do some rain and fog so we can actually see that. I kept it well lit enough so during hazardous days you can actually see what you're doing. And then I just wanted to add, you know, to the pier some like boxes and crates and stuff like that. So some of these boats are commercial, maybe they're taking stuff and loading it off. And like I said, I wanted this to be a refueling station too, so I put those little oil tanks right next to the boat cranes, and again, just little industrial details. I had this oil loading arm, but that's built for like a cargo ship, not, you know, public craft, so didn't use that. And then just adding some details to the actual boatyard around it, edging it in with the planters like I usually do, and just, you saw me add like some little dumpsters and like a propane tank and things like that. You know, some of it, maybe the propane tank doesn't quite make sense, but you know, it doesn't make not enough sense that it can't be there. So it's just another little detail. I thought it looked good. And then fencing in the whole area, at least to the water. I don't really know how I should end fences when they hit the water, so I just kind of end them. So that's maybe my Achilles heel right there. But putting in some gates now, and I wanted to keep it, you know, somewhat secure. It doesn't need to be like crazy secure, but somewhat secure was important to me. So at least having the fences and the gates helps out with that. And then just having to add back that boat launch because I deleted it by accident, or not boat launch, boat storage. And of course, more lighting. So the marina, I thought, turned out really good. We are going to do a little bit of the surrounding area as well, just because I wanted to have it somewhat built out. That is probably going to change a little bit because I actually forgot I had some of the assets I did, but we're going to use like a British seaside pack to build that out, and I think it ends up pretty good. And right now we're just finishing up the actual boats in the water, and then putting in some parking for the boat storage itself. So, you know, when people go to launch their boats, or, you know, when the employees are here, this is where they park. And then just filling out this little boat launch a little bit as well. It obviously needed a place to enter to, so people don't have to drive through the boat storage to launch their boat, or through the fishing dock over there. They can just launch it right there. So just adding a couple trucks with these little boat trailers on them, and then putting in our fishing route real quick. So like I said, it was just a random fishing route, so I just tried to hit as many different types of fish as I could and bring it back. And we're gonna go ahead and add in some trees and stuff over here, but they were looking like bald broomsticks, so we went with just small shrubbery instead, just because I hate when the trees don't actually grow in. It really just it harshes my mellow, it grinds my gears. I'm not about it. So we just instead went for the smaller shrubbery where it's a little bit less noticeable, and I can also plop down 1,000 of them without it being too crazy and have it fill in. And then over here, I wanted to just add this building. This is like one of the New England dockyards that's on the workshop. I just thought it looked nice. It's nice, a little bit of American old school history, which a lot of American dockyards will have. And you know, maybe now it used to be like a mill or something. Maybe now it's converted into like the boat club or something along those lines. But we're just gonna pop that in right there. I thought it looked nice. And then we're gonna put a little fish market. So this is again off just base Sunset Harbor DLC. That's the little fish market there. I thought that would be a nice thing to have as like a centerpiece to this little town, is having like a big fish market. So maybe this is a big fishing town, or you know, something along those lines. And I will add a little bit more detail to this space as well than just having it be the vanilla asset. I did want to add in like some trucks and stuff, so you'll see me do that in just a moment. But all in all, I think it ended up looking pretty good. I like, you know, the space and the way it's built out. I like being able to have it play in with a little bit of the industry stuff with the fishing. I'm not going to do too much because, like I said, I wanted this to be a more affluent area, so I didn't want to have like a huge industrial harbor, but I did want to have a little bit of an industrial harbor, and then eventually we're going to make more of like a personal / recreational harbor that maybe is coming off of like a hotel or something like that. So maybe those, you know, bigger boats will be subject to move over to that area rather than stay where they are now. But we'll see when we get there. But that's just an idea for the future of this little town. And right now I'm just trying to add, you know, some different details just to make it more of an interesting space. So if you've watched any of my episodes before, you know I hate the look of just pristine concrete when I paint it down. I always do it at the beginning, and then I always break it up by the end. So what we're doing now is just breaking it up a little bit by putting in like a little area for natural growth trees. So not like a manicured area or anything. I'm just using my typical method for going through and adding in landscaping to more wild areas. So putting that in right there. And then putting a parking lot on the end of, like I said, what might be like the little boat club or something like that right there. And then basically the rest of this time lapse is just going to be adding in what I like to call superfluous details, so just extra details to the space. Most of our big areas are pretty much built out at this point. But we're just gonna try to edge things in with like some planters, and then of course at the end I always try to do my decals. If you watch any of my early episodes, I would put decals down way too early, and then it would mess up my entire build flow because you can't move props on top of decals. Move It always wants to grab the decal for some reason. Maybe there's a setting that I don't know about that can fix that. But I would always put my decals down first, try to move things, and it would just be the worst of times. It would not be good. Like, I am putting a couple little props down, but I'm being careful to know that I actually like where they are and to not put them right down in the middle of a decal so I can't move them. But those are going to be kind of just some of the last little details there. And like I said earlier, we are going to build out a little bit of a commercial space, but this is all subject to change. But I did like this little pack. I like the bay windows and things like that. I thought it worked for a West Coast area. But I did grab like a California, like upper end, like Beverly Hills kind of pack for commercial areas, so I want to try that out and see if I like that built out more than I like what we ended up with the end of this episode here. But I do think this pack works well for this space. I do think it looks nice for little seaside downtown, But we are getting towards the end of the time lapse, so we're gonna jump into a live play at the end here, guys, just to go through a little bit more slowly with a little bit less of abrupt camera angle change of what we built here today. So as I'm putting in a little road for our fish market so it's actually usable, I will let the music play out. I'll see you on the live play, but I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If you did, leave a like down below, and yeah, I'll see you on the other side. Alright guys, that is going to do it for today's time lapse, so I hope you enjoyed building out this little marina, harbor, boat launch kind of deal that we made here. I think it came out really nice. I really enjoy looking at it. It's fun on the eyes. So let's just run through real quick before we get to the cinematics what we did here today. And thanks for sticking along for the ride for this long. If you've been enjoying the video, definitely leave a like down below and consider subscribing to my channel if you've been liking what you've been seeing. But here is like the main little boat yard. I have these buoys by the bigger boats, so if they're tied down or something, they want to kind of make sure that they're not going anywhere. They're worth some money, so obviously they're not connected over here to any of the ties, so maybe they're tied up to these buoys in our imagination. As a little fishing boat speeds by, I like having this over here because it's active, so things are coming in and out, so it's not just a whole static asset. But the actual harbor yard I think came out really good. I grimed it up real good, so I put a lot of dirt and scuff and junk all over through it, so it looked kind of gross, but I think it looks good and weathered, and it makes sense with like these rusted bollards and things like that. So you got your boat lifts, and then this is where they like store them, and maybe this was either an old mill or an old factory that got converted into some sort of office yard, or maybe there's storage in there too for the boats. I just thought it looked nice. I thought it kind of went with the harbor theme. It is like the New England dockyard, so I thought like for an old American building, right on the edge of the boatyard looked nice. I got these cool little houseboats, and then these fishing boats that are like hyper colorized. I think it's kind of funny how like this one's definitely purple, but they look good too. And then coming over here, little boat launch, maybe just a little public boat launch or something. Maybe it's private, I don't know. Probably private, considering I doubt they just let people go through, but who knows. But I just want to have that little boat launch, and then of course, just the vanilla from Sunset Harbor fishing stuff right here, the little fishing harbor. I didn't even do a specialized one, just a normal one, and they go all through here. So we're on like a little inlet of the bay. I think next episode we're gonna just build out this little town. We're gonna do a little bit more with these shops. So these are like the British seaside shops, but I thought they fit for this motif as well. California, there's tons of bay windows and stuff. Maybe not as much the pointed roofs and chimneys, but it is good enough. It looks pretty nice. But you have these little strips of commercial, and then we're gonna go through and add some more like apartment buildings and seaside houses and like some hotels and stuff, and really make this like a true community by the water, I think is the plan. And then the last thing of course is just this it's the vanilla pack from Sunset Harbor. Again, it's like the fish market, but I did go ahead and just add like some of these trucks and things just to give it a little bit more detail to it. Not a ton, like I didn't even scuff it up, which I guess I could go through and add decals too. But all in all, I think it looks really good. I'm going to be happy once these parking lots start filling up, once we actually have people living out over here. But I think it was a good, fun little build. I hope you guys enjoyed it. But we'll go ahead and launch into some cinematics for you guys. So again, hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, leave that thumbs up. Check out my other stuff, and I'll see you on the next one.